This video is sponsored by Crimson Manifesto. Before we begin, you all know the drill. This is a screenshot from my YouTube analytics showing how many of you are regular viewers who are subscribed versus not subscribed. Please go ahead and hit that little red button now, as it's completely free and is a great way to show YouTube you care about my content and want me to grow, as well as being a great motivation for me. While you're at it, go ahead and comment your thoughts at the part, share with anyone you think would enjoy this, and be sure to leave a like, since we're going to have another like goal of 1,500 to secure the next part faster. And if you're watching early as a patron or channel member, thanks so much for your support. Now, back to the story. Almost innately, Pigero can tell that this man must be Son Goku, not just because it is the most logical conclusion, but also because his ki and aura bear the same tranquil and light feeling as Gohan, or at least it would have if Gohan were not currently in the state he is in. Goku surveys the battlefield, at first being happy to see his friends are mostly okay, but upon seeing Krillin has sadly perished once again, and in such a terrible way, his ki rises suddenly, the ground cracking beneath him and his hair raising up a tad as his own rage seems to consume him, only for it all to return to a calm and focused state a moment later, thoroughly shocking the preteen human. As Goku decides to prioritize getting his injured and exhausted comrades out of danger, he first uses the Kaioken and doubles his strength, as he turns and scoops Pigero up and carries him piggyback style. The Saiyan goes on to ask who this mystery boy is, while Pigero, on the verge of passing out, valiantly fights his exhaustion to give Goku a quick rundown on his story and the Saiyan invasion so far, leaving Goku incredibly proud of Gohan and Earth's defenders, causing him to express his gratitude to Pigero for helping take care of and raise Gohan in his absence, stating that he and Chi-Chi really owe the kid one. Not to mention, this initial focus on rescue rather than combat also allows Goku to witness a bit more of Gohan's battle against Vegeta. This sees him learning from this battle of the beast and coming to grips with a starting realization about Gohan and his grandpa Gohan, and how that cycle is now repeated with Piccolo, as he then grabs Yamcha in a burst of extra power, and then successfully scoops up Tien before he can be crushed as well. Deciding to get them as far away from the action as he is comfortable traveling, Goku sets the injured trio down where they can still view everything, and deposits the last two Sensu beams with Yamcha before zooming back to his son's aid. Prioritizing the youngest amongst them, Yamcha decides to split his beam between he and Tien, then splits the other and shoves a half in Pigero's mouth, bringing him back up to half power as well, and saving the rest for Gohan or Goku should they need it. Though to Yamcha's surprise and relief, the delinquent doesn't decide to go after Goku once he's healed back up, as that is what Yamcha expected. Instead, Pigero looks on with worry and wonder, as this war for the Earth comes to a conclusion finally. Meanwhile, Vegeta's greater control has also given him control over the conflict, but ever since Piccolo's name was added to the casualties list, Gohan's anger has seen his power rising steadily every time Vegeta eludes or counters him with his finesse, quickly leading to stray hits landing every time the prince is a little too sloppy. This rage boost is especially potent for Gohan, since it is heightened by the Uzaru form, and now Gohan's guilt, as well as the fact that his closer relationship with the rest of the Z Fighters at this point means that he knows even if his master had survived, Krillin and Chaozu will be lost to them forever, thus only increasing his burning hot rage, and slowly causing the fight to very brutally stalemate, angering Vegeta as he feels challenged by this whoop of a Saiyan, leading to his fighting just as savagely and the two Uzaru injuring each other horribly. Landing on the tallest mountain still standing, Goku has had enough, as he charged up Kamehameha in order to destroy the Power Ball high in the sky, parting the clouds for a few miles around. Without the artificial Blux waves running through them, Gohan and Vegeta return to their base forms and keep their tails, though they are still too wrapped up in their brawl to notice immediately, only realizing when Gohan's stubby body is incapable of reaching Vegeta's chin to deliver another slobber knocker. Unfortunately for the hybrid, the prince has maintained about half his original power in the scuffle, whereas Gohan has completely burned himself out, eyes still red, but now also puffy from his tears, taunting him as having been a fun playmate, but inevitably amounting to low class just like his father. Vegeta goes to smack Gohan away, but Goku intercepts this by appearing behind Gohan, catching Vegeta's hand and shocking the prince as he only now clocks his arrival. Gohan can barely choke out the word dad in surprise, he is so tired, but Goku shushes him, saying he can tell Gohan did his best, before whistling so the Nimbus scoops the child up and takes him to rest with the others, thus beginning the final battle. Tien and Yamcha, seeing this as they are now conscious again, begin to hype up Goku to Pigero, as he and Vegeta begin to battle on even footing, Goku proving to be the superior in terms of martial arts and mastery over oneself, and so he decides to not use that strange Kaioken technique as pointed out by Tien. Needless to say, Pigero is in awe, having all of his wildest expectations of Earth's mightiest hero blown out of the water, as he quickly gains the same respect everyone has for the Earth Race Saiyan. However, he is brought out of his musings as the Nimbus deposits Gohan at his side, where he hesitates to give the sobbing boy the other half of his Sensu beam for a mere second, recognizing briefly that he's scared of Gohan. What if he goes wild again and kills Yamcha and the others this time, or even himself? But as Gohan finally passes out from the toll Vegeta's beating and his own emotions have put on him, Pigero can see him as nothing more than his little best buddy once again, resolving himself and feeding Gohan the Sensu before returning his attention to the beam clash currently taking place between the two Saiyans that is shaking the planet. Inevitably, as he is both the better and fresher fighter, Goku can pour more ki into his Super Kamehameha than Vegeta his Gallic Gun, and so he pushes him to his limits without the Kaioken, leading to the Prince being consumed by the beam and dropping to the ground in a smoking heap, defeated. Everyone cheers for Goku, yelling at him to go ahead and finish that monster off, but to their shock, he looks back at them with a disappointed scowl, as he allows Vegeta to sit up and calls a attack pod to himself, before crawling inside. Goku even going so far as to deflect a desperate Dodon where Tien tries to aim for the retreating Prince as he roars back that it'd be a waste, as well as his intention to one day fight the Saiyan Elite in a fair bout. No one is really happy about this, but as he is their savior, they can't rightfully argue with Goku, while from Vegeta's perspective, he now feels more animosity towards Goku and Gohan than he ever did in canon. Moments after the danger has subsided, our heroes are finally seen to, as Bulma flying a ship carrying Chi-Chi, Master Roshi, and Korra lands in the wasteland. This is also around the time a very embarrassed Yajirobe reveals himself. The Tiger Mom of course sparing no time before bolting out of the ship to cradle Gohan and cry over his unconscious body. Bulma is meanwhile extremely happy Yamcha somehow survived this battle, though the mood quickly dampens when Roshi and Tenshinhan verbalize their heartbreak over the second loss of Chaozu and Krillin. As Goku joins the group in these somber feelings, Chi-Chi takes notice of Pigero and quickly begins to berate the Z-Fighters for involving yet another innocent child in this mess, before in a motherly tone asking the boy's name and where his parents are. Pigero's words fail him for a moment, as this question suddenly becomes hard to answer, only for Goku to place a fatherly hand atop his head and chirp to his wife that this is Pigero, declaring him as a very good friend to Gohan, and admitting that he helped Piccolo care for their son in their absence, smiling that from now on she should just think of him as Gohan's older brother. At this revelation, all anger fades from her, as she suddenly pulls the older boy into a hug with Gohan, thanking him profusely, as well as to whatever higher powers are listening to her prayer, as she was amazed two innocent boys are able to make it out of such violence alive. Speaking of higher deities, it is at this point King Kai decides to speak up, as he reveals that the much stronger Krillin, Chaozu, and Piccolo are nearly at his planet already, elaborating that the former monk has had an idea based off what they've learned about Piccolo's heritage. And so, the plan to explore planet Namek in hopes of reviving their friends is hatched, with it quickly being decided that Bulma, Yamcha, and Tien will go after Mr. Popo reveals Kami's ship to everyone. However, Pigero and Gohan quickly throw their own hats in the ring, wanting to exhaust any possible options to get their friends back. Though in the back of his mind, Pigero is really so excited to go as he is eager for some space from Gohan, as he's still been feeling some unease around him. And the 5-year-old hybrid is just as clingy as ever, unfortunately contributing to a bunch of nightmares where he shares in Master Piccolo's fate. And he feels kinda guilty for having these thoughts, his only saving grace currently being Gohan's injuries were the worst out of everyone, which has kept him bedridden and doted on by Chi-Chi most of the time. Because Gohan has not only recognized his growing distance, but has become discouraged and more self-conscious about it. He seems far more down than he did in canon when Chi-Chi didn't want him to go. But being a responsible adult, Chi-Chi attempts to dissuade both boys from wanting to go, citing how tired of fighting they must be after a year. But speaking earnestly and passionately as it's all he knows how to do, Pigero tells Chi-Chi he genuinely appreciates the concern, but has to do this. Gohan quickly dittoing his agreement like an eager younger sibling. Chi-Chi is obviously moved by this, but still worried. However, it is surprisingly Goku and Bulma who quickly mitigate her misgivings, explaining that between herself and Tenshinhan, it should be relatively easy to babysit Yamcha and Pigero, as the genius inventor said she'd rather more bodyguards than less. Both rogues barking that that's not nice, as Gohan can't help but snicker a bit alongside Bulma, while Goku rubs both boys' heads and tells Chi-Chi that he trusts Pigero to take care of himself based off how well he dealt with the Saiyans after only a year of training, and citing that he's now a little older than when he began adventuring. And besides, he was really hoping to get some time to train with Gohan and work on their house since they need to accommodate their new family member. That and Yajirobe had agreed to help since he didn't do much against the Saiyans. This seems to finally convince Chi-Chi, as it means she will at least have some time to love on Gohan and Goku before they slip from her grasp again, though she does mourn the loss of time that could be used to get to know her new adopted child. So, after a day or two of preparation, the Kami ship team consisting of Pigero, Tenshinhan, Yamcha, and Bulma board their spacecraft and blast off. And thanks to the experience of the harsh battle and everyone healing from their injuries completely, all three humans have at least reached or passed the same zenith that Tien seemed to be near prior to the Saiyans, with Pigero just getting the tiniest bit stronger than the other two thanks to his notable potential. Thus begins a long 6-month voyage, full of some of the things we'd see in canon, as well as those in filler, like the run-in with Zeshin and the other space orphans, whom as individuals really aren't too much stronger than Bulma, but through their organization, tenacity, and faith are all able to throw the Z-Fighters for a loop for a second there. This serves as a harsh reminder of how effective true teamwork can be to Tien and Yamcha, who have somewhat strayed from the lesson pending their loss of Chaozu, falling out with Bulma, and separation with Par respectively. And for Pigero, it is a much needed reminder of why he chose the current path he is on. Part of him now wondering what would have happened had he and Gohan went back to the other orphans and they all joined the demon school as well. This line of thought also having him wonder how they're all holding up, as this experience also leads to the group hearing about Frieza a lot sooner. There is actually also a fake Namek, since I'd like the three fighters to take on some opponents around a 3,750 power level each, whom work together really well, since they'd be about as strong as Nappa full power. This seeing Tien and Yamcha forced to perfect their synchronicity by reflecting on their rivalry to overcome their stronger opponents, showing off combos on the level of what 17 and 18 would go on to later show off in Canon, thus reminding Pigero what true teamwork between equals can amount to, as he pushes himself to the limit, battling against the very catastrophic weather itself of fake Namek to secure the team's exit, as he uses his ki to hold off tsunamis, earthquakes, and hurricanes. And finally, there is lots of meditation and image training for the three fighters, allowing Yamcha and Tien more one-on-one time to hammer home the lessons they've been teaching Pigero as his true secondary masters, and thus leading to him picking up a few of their techniques. This resulting in Pigero taking his place as basically the Gohan of the humans, as his youth, potential, and knowledge gained from study under Piccolo continues to further help the veteran humans bring out their own full potential as much as they possibly can on their own. While unfortunately, 6 months trapped in the same place finally leads to Bulma and Yamcha breaking up officially. Eventually, the human crew land on Namek, giving a couple Frieza grunts a bad day as they find themselves expertly outclassed with no one using more than a third of their true strength. Meanwhile, after hearing word of Frieza's attempts to undercut him, Vegeta has also arrived in Namek. However, after the double headliner slugfest match with Gohan and Goku, he is ready to punch far higher above his weight now. His first Zenkai here taking him to a 30,000 power level initially, which very obviously results in a bad day for Kui as well. After splitting up from Bulma and witnessing Frieza and his men heading to get their 5th Dragon Ball, the three warriors set off to investigate, moving on foot at high speed and keeping their power hidden. Meanwhile, Goku and Gohan, quickly having fully recovered, have been training when the kid isn't forced to study, since neither have to spend as long as Goku did healing in the original. This also means that a sensu bean is saved from Goku not needing it to recover fully, though he does make good on that work in the meantime while waiting as he begins adding onto their house to accommodate Pigero. Through their initial training, the two have reached even higher heights themselves, but quickly plateaued after a particular spar in which Gohan's anxiety and frustration with his strange falling out with Pigero and guilt causes a rage boost that sees Gohan taking Goku on at full power, giving Goku a full breath of the problem he now has to solve. However, one day after returning from talking with Bulma and her dad, he is very excited for something he is calling the gravity machine. Meanwhile, Pigero's team arrive and see Dende's village being raided. However, this time, as soon as the first Namekian adult is killed, Pigero, much different from Gohan, jumps into action, forcing Tien and Yamcha to act as well with no hesitation, as they capitalize on the chaos. As a stroke of luck, at this exact moment, the warrior Namek just so happened to get involved as well, having sped up their flight as they felt more powerful foreign energies, leading to an all-out brawl out of nowhere that sees a lot of Frieza's low-level grunts going down until Frieza orders Dodoria to step in. However, since these more powerful Z-Fighters than what we had in Canon now have the aid of the warrior Nameks, Dodoria is too outmanned and outgunned to do as he did in Canon, seeing him at first fought to a standstill and then quickly begins flagging under the barrage of fighters and his poor stamina. As Dodoria is pushed back, Frieza fumes at the delay and thus finally orders Zarbon to join the fray as well. As he does, the scale quickly turns in the favor of Frieza's men, and so the Emperor chooses to retire with his Dragon Balls, after Mori coordinates everyone to destroy the Scouter, so he needs to order the Ginyu Force to bring more anyway. Though they too are flagging, the Earthlings and Namekians continue to pull off simultaneous quick combo moves to survive. Pigero and Yamcha focusing on blasting the ground so a dust cloud kicks up as Tien uses the solar flare, and the three Namekians, after a lengthy telepathic debate over decreasing the planet's numbers further, resolve to fuse into one fighter to try and finish off Dodoria. I set them all individually at 3,000, so I'll be making this a flat 10 times increase as each man on the base adds about a 3.33 to round up to a 9.99 times increase, so they're at 33,000 now. So when they use this opening made by the Earthlings to fire off a Mystic Flash, Zarbon has to transform to try and deflect it before he and Dodoria are nearly vaporized, hanging on simply because the blow had no real lethal intent behind it, as the remaining Namekians including Dende, Cargo, and Muri escape along with this new Super Namekian, who introduces himself as Ganga, thanking the Earthlings for their help and directing everyone to head towards Lord Guru's. Meanwhile, Vegeta rolls up on Zarbon and Dodoria, having stalked the battle like a cunning beast, waiting for the best opportunity. It's time for some payback. But that, plus Ultra Fam, is where we'll be leaving this timeline off for right now. Well everyone, the Namek arc is kicking off and it's already as different as it could be with a stronger Gohan and Goku preparing to begin their gravity training. A much stronger and better prepared team of Z-Fighters arriving to Namek where Vegeta in a much more advantageous position is, which has resulted in a strong new ally, and Krillin, Chaozu, and Piccolo all training on King Kai's, with a very low likelihood that they're going to slack off now of all times. If you want to see what happens next, be sure to leave a like, subscribe and notifications on so you don't miss the next part, and share with your fellow fans. And consider becoming a sponsor of the channel as either a member or patron. Shoutouts and special thanks to B, Jesus is King, Adrian Carr, Daniel Smith, Inerbreeder, Coder SV3, John Sullivan, Trent Rouse, Dark Shadows, Pokemon Trainer Cam, River Joy, Arcane of the Heart, J. Ray, Infernate Beast 326, Omar Cousins, Stephen Norton, Vegeta What Ifs, Justin Covington, Taryn, Shao P, Dylan Wolfdog 31, Cordell Sanders, and Crimson Manifesto. Manifesto. As always, your aid helps me to make my videos above and beyond with stuff like new custom art for thumbnails and visuals. It means the world to me. But with that said, be sure to take care of yourselves and the world around you. And as always, go beyond plus ultra. And I'll see you guys next time.